practice together. Allow your body to become comfortable. Make adjustments as you need to. And when you're ready, let's close our eyes. And just check in with yourself. Don't change anything about your breath as the eyes close. Let's make the first few breaths of awareness. Just honor how we've shown up for this practice, for this time. And as the body is getting a little more comfortable, a little more settled, the distractions are becoming a little quieter maybe. Let's take a slow breath in together. And exhale, let it go. And a slow breath in together. And release. One more in. And exhale. And as you're settling in, I sat for a few minutes earlier today and just thought, what were the messages for our meditation time tonight? What were the lessons? What were the guidances that I wanted to be able to share, that I was supposed to share? And it wasn't until about 11 o'clock today that I knew, because I was sitting and looking out the window and the sky was beautiful and the trees were calm and there was hardly a breeze in sight. And within minutes, everything changed. And that quiet, calm, peaceful, beautiful world was disturbed. The blue sky turned dark gray. The wind began to blow at really high rates. And the storm came. Lightning and thunder and rain coming from every direction, it seemed, for a few minutes. And then all of a sudden, about 20 minutes later, it stopped. And almost as quickly as the sky had turned gray, it turned blue again. And the clouds began to part. And the storm began to pass. And it was this beautiful visualization of what happens in our mind all the time. We often think, and I am often told by so many people that ask me about meditation, that it's impossible to make the mind be still. Or as many say, to turn the mind off, because all people understand and relate to is that storm like I saw today. They haven't experienced those quiet, still moments before and after in a very long time. And no matter how many times I tell someone that meditation is not about turning your mind off, but about quieting those disturbances, they still can't quite grasp it because they live in those moments. Those moments like the high wind and the dark sky and the torrential rain. And they've forgotten what it feels like to have peace in their mind. So what I'd like us to do for these few minutes that we have is to begin to kind of unlearn some things. We've been conditioned over time to think that if we want to learn something, we want to do something, we have to just dig in, grit our teeth, clasp our fist, put determination on our face, and just do whatever it is we're setting out to do. Our world has taught us how to measure success and how to measure effort. And oftentimes it looks like that. It looks like the storm. And the more we disturb things, that maybe we'll be able to get to wherever it is we're trying to get to. And while the goal of meditation is a quieting, a stilling of the mind, we can't approach it that way. We can't come at a turbulent mind with turbulence. We can't come at a disturbed mind with disturbances. This practice asks us to come with a sense of gentleness and kindness and patience and compassion. And so I would invite you just to pause for a moment and just think. When you're trying to learn something new, when there's a new task before you, when you're trying to measure success about something, How do you approach it? Are you quiet and kind and thoughtful and gentle, or are you teeth gritting, fist pumping, face determined, and you're pushing through? Just think, what has become your default way of being, your habit for approaching these things? Chances are we all have had many moments and many experiences where we do approach things with those fists just gripped and those teeth just ground together and that look of determination on our face, everything contracted and ready to go. But we can't approach this practice that way. And honestly, it's not how we were intended to approach life. So I'd like to spend these few minutes that we have unlearning some habits, teaching us to move from just being that storm to more often than not being the quiet, still moments instead. There's a mantra that I want to share with you in English. In Sanskrit, it's only 4 words, but I want to share it in English because I want to say it a few times as we sit, so that maybe it can become some kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, that I'll say it enough, I'll hold space with my words, you'll repeat it if you feel inclined, or you'll just let the words resonate in your heart, so that maybe you begin to believe it. And before we do that though, let's just each sit for the next few breaths and get a snapshot of what's going on in our head, what's happening in our minds. What do you notice? So as you continue to breathe, just listen to this mantra as I say it a few times and see if the words resonate with you. My practice calms the waves of my mind. 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 In Sanskrit, that mantra is yoga, sita, vritti, nirodha. And you can translate it a lot of different ways, from waves to disturbances to agitations to fluctuations. The idea is that almost 3,000 years ago, that mantra was given to us, that statement, that aphorism. And it doesn't say that if I get disturbances, this practice can calm them. It says my practice calms the fluctuations, the waves, the agitations of my mind, meaning I have disturbances and fluctuations and waves, and I'm normal with them. There's nothing wrong with this if those things come. This practice gives us a tool to do something different with them. So there's no if, they're there. Now let's see if we can use this practice to calm them just a bit. So just continue to breathe. Let's nurture ourselves the same way that if you were in charge of a small baby, a child, a grandchild, a niece, a nephew, a friend that you were in charge of for a few minutes, and that baby became agitated. And you know babies, they can't tell you what they want, they just cry louder, and they just get more frustrated, and their little fists get clenched and their faces get red. And we know that when they're like that, the only way to soothe them is for us to be something different. We pick them up, and with calm in our breath and peace in our voice, we calm the agitation of that little baby. It comes from within us. And then they begin to match the calm that we're breathing out. So what if we could do the same thing for ourselves? When you see the agitation in your head as we sit for these few minutes, approach it like you would approach that small baby, with peace and breath and kindness and compassion. Continue to breathe in and breathe out. My practice calms the waves of my mind. My practice calms the waves of my mind. If it feels comfortable for you, bring your hands together at heart center into that Anjali mudra, we call it, these prayer hands. Oftentimes we'll close our practice with our thumbs right here at our heart center, just sealing whatever we've discovered or committed to in those moments. I was asked not long ago, someone noticed and asked, why when I say namaste do my thumbs leave my heart and always go to my forehead as I bow? And I would tell you, my practice calms the waves of my mind. And when my thumbs touch my forehead, it's my gentle reminder that as the waves come once I leave my practice, I have the tools within me to calm it again. So if it feels comfortable for you as we close out our time, you can put your thumbs right there at your forehead, or you can leave them at heart center. But having the assurance that my practice calms the waves of my mind.